A long time ago, I heard the phrase, when you wake up, the journey just begins. And I thought, bullshit. It is so hard to get from duality to non-duality. There is no way that there is more ahead of me than behind me. There is a road to be traveled from awakening. And the term I use for another landing place is liberation. It's just that the path is different. It's not as difficult because subjective suffering stops. All sense of victim, being concerned about self-image, being approved of, all of this is processed, is dealt with. The greedy ego is not obeyed, not taken seriously. So you've done the work to see what you're not. And you arrive at the non-dual state. So we're going to start at the non-dual state and create a map of where it goes from there. While the map lays out particular stations, they're a little bit different for some of us because we see different things at different times. But each one of these steps must be dealt with, processed, transcended. So I'm going to start with the non-dual. And it's nice to be at a conference that's about science and non-duality, and it's like, hey, there's actually space for something beyond non-duality. We'll need a scientist to say what's beyond science, where that is going. But there is something much more beyond non-duality. So if we start with the non-dual, okay. And from here, we have different experiences of it. Some people say that it's absolutely seeing that none of this is real. You know that this isn't real, and what you have found within that is unchanging is real. Some of us explain it like that. Others explain it that everything that passes is created by my mind. Everything that's transient is totally a product of my mind. This is true too. And what is not transient is outside of that. And that's what's real, and that's what I am. So we have different ways of explaining the same thing. Whatever language works for you is fine. Don't stick to any one language. It's not going to show up in any particular way that directly communicates with language, because that's where that misalignment of language and the truth, that's where it really kicks in. So the language that works for you, let it be yours. Don't say, but so-and-so said it's like this. I don't see it like that. Your own knowing has to kick in, and you've got to trust your own inner capacity, your own certainty. The knowingness that's within you must be trusted. There will be no doubting mind. You'll know that you're not your body. You know that you're not the product of your thoughts. That's pretty much the bubble of non-duality, of awakening. So, the trouble with it, the big hurdle that has to get past in order to start moving from non-duality, the trap of non-duality, is instead of identifying with the body-mind, you identify with the capital S self. You identify with the absolute. You identify with the oneness. You identify with all of it, absolute. The identification is the problem. Non-duality doesn't go there. Non-duality says you're not, what you see, you're not what your senses pick up, you're none of that. But what you really are is another bullshit line. It really is. Because what you're doing is you're taking identity from subjective to where there is only the subject. The identity is never questioned in non-dual teachings. So the hangout space that we love once we awaken, or once we have a glimpse that might last for an hour or a few weeks, that space of, I'm none of this, and it's very nice. We return to the natural state. But watch it, because identity will still be there, attaching to an understanding of being all of it. being the higher self, being the absolute, being the truth. So you've got to see through identity. Identity with the non-dual. Oops. Non-duality, you're never going to go beyond non-duality if you don't see through the trap of identification. And there's a feel-good factor, and it's yet another stripping. So don't replace I am none of it with I am all of it. And you know, another way to understand this is that non-duality is the opposite of duality. You're still within duality. Non-duality is still within that ballpark of duality. Why is it preferable? We're just playing the same games. You know, that non-duality is preferable to duality. We're doing the same thing. Being nice is better than being greedy. Or having no ego is better than having an ego. It's like, can you see the whole trap? Every preference falls away. And it falls away when you see that wanting to identify with any state, with any label at all, even with truth, wanting to identify with anything, has to be seen through as another trick of consciousness to keep the non-dual movie going. And non-duality is a movie too. It's also within the movie. I'm in the movie. I mean, this is all movie. This is movie material, but non-duality is nothing special. Take it off its pedestal if you have it on a pedestal. Take it off. It's within the duality game. So where does it go from there? So we've dropped identity, or transcended identity, or seen that any kind of identity is just a hangout zone. There are two things that need to be transcended. And sometimes they're seen through before awakening. And they are time and they are space. So these ones really move for different people at different times. The first time that time started to really shatter for me, it's way back. And I was at a group meditation, and we were lying down. And I went way out, you know, as it happens sometimes. And as I was coming back, it might happen to some of you that your perception comes in little bits. You're kind of waiting for yourself to kick in, because you know, there's nothing going on. There's no mind, there's no perceiving mechanism happening, there's no labeling, and you just wait, no? And the timeline didn't construct itself very well. And I found myself saying, stop, and people getting up from the floor and walking around and rolling up their yoga mats, and it froze. I'm like, ooh, go back. And everything went backwards, like you press rewind in a DVD. Everything went backward, stop, go forward, and it went forward. I didn't decide to do this because there wasn't enough of me there to make a decision. But I found myself saying, go forward, go back, stop. So I played with this for quite a while. And then more of mind came in. And what it said was, you're screwing up the timeline for everybody. There was Jac again, you know. Oh, let's not do something that would disturb the universe, as if she had power, bless her. These are the games we play, huh? In the movie to keep it going. Nobody knew that this was happening, but it was happening. Somehow it was seamless for everybody else in the room. But for quite a few minutes, stop, go, rewind, go forward, stop. Yeah, so time was never believed after that, because it's like, this is just my mind joining frames together, making up the bits in between, so that I've got some mechanism to navigate myself in the world. And it never became more solid than that again. It's just a mechanism, like a kettle is for making hot water to make a cup of tea. It's just a mechanism that's there to facilitate something. So seeing through time, in some shape or form, it needs to happen. How it happens for many people is that it shows up as being vertical, that everything is happening in this moment. If it happens like this for you, great. This is a common one. It's like, whoa, everything is actually right now, and somehow I'm stretching it out. My experiencing mechanism is stretching it out. For some, it's vertical. For some, it's just a dot. It's like squeezes in, and it goes vertical, and then it becomes a dot. However it unfolds for you, time is just created by your mind. Check it out to see if it's real, because I can guarantee you, your mind is what makes it real. And it's just another thing, like you imagine anything. We imagine all of this, and we imagine time too. So let it break down, let it show itself to you, because time must be transcended. The one that comes after time, there seems to be a sequence here, because time and space are set up sequentially. Space comes before time in terms of the concept-making mechanism, in terms of how consciousness builds its framework for manifestation to roll out. And so when time breaks up, space is going to break up sometime afterwards, because space is the context. Here's an interesting way to kind of challenge space. When you drop in, or you have a spiritual experience, or there's no I, or in meditation, you might hit spaciousness, huh? Hands up if you know spaciousness. All right, at least half, that sense of spaciousness. Don't hang out there. Don't hang out there, because it's really nice, huh? And it allows your energy field to be boundaryless, limits drop. But space is another concept. It's a framework, a fundamental concept for creating manifestation, for creating the rest of it. When you drop into space, if you can find a sense of spaciousness deeper than this, dismiss it, not this. As Nisargadatta said, not this, not this. You can apply these tools way back to the building blocks of consciousness too. So if you hit a sense of spaciousness, hang out for a minute and see the juice that it gives you. It's just lovely. You're playing a game. You're caught in the drug. You're caught in the juice. Deeper than this. Let space disappear. And it will show itself to be just another construct. It's just a concept. All right, so space and time. The sense of beingness, that's an interesting one. We drop the doing, we find the being. We see that the doing happens on top of the being, and it can be dynamic or it can be calm. And, you know, a lot of the spiritual propaganda is that, you know, once awakened, you'll be really, really calm and pious, and it's like, sorry, but like, no, not necessarily. If you have a dynamic, bubbly personality, love it, it's fine. The stillness is there beneath it. It's not touched. No matter what your personality is, let it do its thing. But the backdrop underneath it is not touched by whatever the personality is. Don't imagine that you must be any particular way. Your personality has nothing to do with it. Your attachments do. Believing the story that your mind is creating, that has something to do with it. But being a certain way, modeling yourself on any spiritual teacher, deity, modeling yourself, drop it. That position is taken. Be yourself. That position is for you to take. Don't change your personality. Let it show up as it does. The stillness is an entirely different thing and is not touched by your personality. So then we learn how to be, huh? And being is within the non-dual realm. Because, yeah, it's like that's the beingness. And it links into the oneness vibe. All very nice. But it grows stale. and something will want to move you beyond beingness. How beingness breaks down for most is it goes from beingness to not being, and there's a beautiful, I think I read it in some Buddhist thing, of non-being. Because the duality of being or not being are both gone with non-being. It's just a beautiful phrase to point to something that's outside being or not being. Gets rid of the dualistic framework. See what non-being is. Ask it to show itself. But in order for that to happen, the idea of existence must show itself to be simply that, an idea. Existence itself needs to be transcended. I bounced this off an eminent scientist at the Science and Nonduality Conference in California a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And it looked like he was the one kind of, at the time, bridging the science and non-dual, because he'd spent some time in India and he ticked all the boxes, you know, what we imagine gives you something in the spiritual world. And I said, okay, so what's your scientific take on transcending existence? He looked at me and he said, girl, don't get caught in semantics. There's no such thing. I went, oh. I didn't know what to do with it. I just got such a land. I was like, whoa, Jac, don't make assumptions. You made an assumption somewhere. Okay. Science doesn't know what to do with this. And I would love a scientist to like explore this. Why does existence have to be a given fundamental that is not questioned? Existence itself is a myth, is a foundational building block upon everything else, upon space, time, upon which these things build. Transcending existence. Are you still with me? Or is it gone like too fuzzy? Okay? All right. Being, not being, goes into non-being. But what this is really about is transcending existence. Where does that leave one? And what's left, if anything? At this point, depending on this set of criteria, depending on what breaks down in what sequence, there will be a clear knowing when pure consciousness is breaking itself down versus when the personal I and the story of me, myself, I in a phenomenal world is breaking down. They're entirely different. And it took me until a couple of years ago to realize what that teacher was saying. Awakening is the beginning. It's like, oh, it's because the rest of it is just fluff. This is the road of consciousness. This is what consciousness itself is doing. It's just using the brain and the body mind to talk about itself here. But that is the work of pure consciousness. So without saying, I am pure consciousness, there is a knowing that consciousness is pulling itself apart, is dismantling itself, showing itself to be what it is. Whatever stage of the journey you're at, actually, and I'm going to contradict myself because it's kind of useful. Know when you, the personality, or you, the character, or you believing your own subjective perceptions, know when you're doing your personal work, and know when it's you as consciousness responding to something. And it's you as consciousness when there's like, oh my God, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I have to do this. That's consciousness moving. It's not intuition, it's something deeper. It's like your mind is trying to play catch up. That's the sure way of knowing. It's not intuition, but your mind is playing catch up and action is being driven from someplace else. That's consciousness at work. That's the thing that's breaking down from here once you crack the identity myth. there's one overriding approach that's needed when we're doing this work. And all of this is underpinned by one thing. And I've kind of created a word. I'm calling it non-denialism. I know it's very jargony, but it means you can't deny anything if you're in here. There is no denying of something because it's not real. At this point, there are layers of what's real and what's not real. It's way too complex to go black and white because you've left this basic dualistic framework. Even if awakening hasn't happened and you're only smelling something and you don't know what you're doing, consider not denying anything. It's one of the traps of non-duality, and it's why a lot of people get caught on the non-dual layer. Is because there is like, oh, that's not real. So that's not real anyway. It's like, hold on a minute now. Somewhere within your capacity as pure consciousness, there is a mind that has the ability to make it feel darn real. Don't deny anything, because when we deny something, we're burying it. And it's not going to be a clean process, and for sure you will not be able to go from awakening to liberation. There's no way. There's no way. The transparency that is demanded of you is gutting. It's gutting. Total transparency is what's required. So nothing can be denied. You can't get away with a grain of sand in your shoe. You can't. So whatever you're hiding and denying yourself and saying, no, I've forgiven that, I've let that go. Every now and then it comes up and gives me an emotional charge, but I've let it go. You will not be able to do this route if you're playing that game. You won't. But maybe just waking up is enough for you. I would invite you to go all the way and say, give it to me. Come on, suck it to me. Take it all, take it all, take it all. If I ever had a prayer, I think that was the one I called on most frequently. Don't compromise, huh? Don't compromise. So have a look at what you're denying. Where do you use spiritual concepts in order to forget about something, to imagine that you've transcended something? Where are you kidding yourself? It's just a very clever mechanism to keep the movie going. Don't play games with yourself. You're not fooling anybody. You're just keeping yourself stuck. That's all you're doing, keeping yourself stuck. Everybody else is bothered about themselves. They're not looking at you. Nobody's bothered about you. Nobody's bothered about you. Everybody's obsessed about themselves. That's how we're wired. We think we're awfully special and important. That tends to go when identity with anything goes. Because you can see where, oh yeah, there's the personal I and its specialness, and there's the specialness of the non-dual and seeing the oneness and everything. And both are garbage, both are tricks. So as we move down the line here, and existence itself is seen through, there's kind of nothing. But the concept of nothing has to go. And any implication that you have attached to what nothing means has to go. Because your mind is getting involved in nothing. So take away the void. I mean, go prior to the void. Some people hit the void, some people don't. It's fine. But prior to the void, nothing. And now take away the concept of nothing. Nothing even arises from there. There actually is no movie. And if there is an understanding and an authenticity and a commitment, I'm stuck for language, to non-denialism, then you will see that there is a movie and there is not a movie. There never was a movie. And none of these things are paradoxical. None of them. It's actually, of course it's clear. It's as clear as this is day. Let the mechanism in your mind that sees things as opposites break down. And non-denialism is the thing that allows that spaciousness to happen. So you get to be able to play with all different layers because none of it is seen to be, oh, that's for beginners. That's too, I'm not ready there yet. It's all available to you because you're not shutting off anything. And as a result, there's no mystery. All mystery dissolves. Mystery is just lack of understanding. There really is no mystery. Pure consciousness doesn't see the contradictions and the levels like our human mind does. Our left brain does all that particulars. Let's particularize everything and let's have knowledge about all these things. That arena only comes in from your left brain. Consciousness doesn't work like that at all. But it's consciousness itself that's doing this unraveling. It's unraveling itself. You can help it by, putting a blowtorch on the concepts that are holding it together. Identity with the non-dual, with the absolute, the idea of non-duality being anything of any value. One who is awakened, what's that? Existence, being, time, space. Once we get this far, everything has its place. There's an ability to include it all in a way that makes sense to pure consciousness, but not to your left brain. Because you're working from a different intelligence. How are we going? Not too bad. I'm good, thank you. Okay. The hallmark of liberation, and I spoke about this a few days ago, so pardon me if I'm repeating myself to those who were at the other talk. The hallmark of liberation, as it trickles down into the body, mind, and the movie, that's not to be denied, is that no action comes from your thinking mind. No action is motivated from your thinking mind. There is only that movement, and your mind is playing catch-up because your mind is a tool that is in service to pure consciousness. And this is why service calls so much of us at a particular stage in our journey. Service makes sense. It's like, yeah, we're beginning to learn what the role is for the human mind. So pure consciousness moves the form, and the mind serves that. But it's the functioning aspect of the left brain, not the self-referencing network. That's not needed anymore, because that's what shuts off the awareness, the activity of pure consciousness. Because the self-referencing is taking care of an illusory me, huh? That's all that's doing, self-referencing. It's just making the whole world about me, to give the world the reality feel. It's just a mechanism. Don't be believing it. It's just a mechanism. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen here. Because my functioning mind says I can go in two of directions, and this is regularly what happens to me. It's like, I just kind of got to hang out. Okay, I'm going to go for it. All right. Okay, all language is kind of stupid and contradictory, but it's all I've got. When there is a knowing of nothing, and the concept of nothing is removed. There is some capacity to recognize a concept-making mechanism within consciousness. I don't know if science would call this the Big Bang or the first movement. I have no idea where it would be put in the spectrum of science. I have no idea. But somehow, some of us get to see a concept-making mechanism. It's almost like the engine room that gives birth to any concept. And it comes after time, space, existence, and all identity are seen through. I have yet not met anybody who hasn't transcended each of these four things and has seen this. It might be out there, but I haven't seen it yet. But the concept-making mechanism is my long-winded version of explaining the transcendence of all concepts. Before that, we have that, phenomenal experience of, oh yeah, concepts come in later. There's a knowingness, and that's moving me, and then concepts come in, and there's a delay factor. We know there's a delay factor. So that's the experience of concepts being made. When time, space, existence, when these things, identity, are transcended, the mechanism that created the potential for any of it, for all of these stages, exposes itself. It's then that it can stop creating concepts that are believed into your existence. Do you see the link? If you can see, okay, we have a few nods, great. I'm just wondering how many people are just going buzzing out. Okay. The concept-making mechanism must be seen through because it underpins every concept. And it is only then that the arising of any concept can be smelled before it's appearing and hypnotizing you. It's recognized from a distance because you're seeing the engine room that it came out of. So it's not plausible. There's no hypnosis going on at all. And this has to happen before liberation. You've got to see not just ideas and me thoughts, all of it. I mean, all of it. All of it. Anything at all that stirs from nothing and take away the concept of nothing. Anything shows itself as, concept-making mechanism is at play. But it's only at play in the perception of this body-mind character in order for functioning to happen, and it's never believed. So you're looking at a map rather than engaging in life. You're looking at the map of life at the same time as participating. So your attention is at home. It's not in the movie, because participation is coming from a place of service, where the body-mind is bowing down to, I'm not going to say what you really are, because that's the non-dual jargon. You've transcended that to the movement of participation itself. So there is no me who's doing something because it's a good idea. There is a me who's serving a movement that's moving all of it. Because you know darn well, if you reroute or control or try to do better than the internal movement, it's bullshit. Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? You're just going into suffering. That's the option. If you try to do better than the organic, natural movement, you're sabotaging the optimum rollout of consciousness. Of course it has to lead to suffering, because something has to route you back home. It's a closed system. Something else shows itself to some. and I've never heard anybody talk about it except recently. Science and Nonduality posted, I think they did anyway, I think they posted it. It's a recent YouTube from Stephen Wolinski. He did a series of 4, I think, and I only saw the 4th. I don't know, I missed the first few. I saw the 4th. And he spoke about this in terms of it's in the ancient scriptures. And I went, oh, great, it's out there. What has shown itself to this character is that as consciousness breaks down, somehow it shows itself that consciousness is underpinning our galaxies, of which we're only touching the surface. And where science is only touching, there are so many dimensions. I know of just under 300 from my own wacky work out of this form. But there could be a gazillion, I don't know, that's just my own limited capacity. So, all the various spiritual dimensions, Middle Earth, Upper Earth, whatever tradition, all of that is within our galaxies, is within consciousness. There are other, okay, I've got to use our language, but it's completely inappropriate. There are other zones that are not underpinned by consciousness at all. Yeah. There isn't time, space, language, 3D, 2D, none of this at all, because pure consciousness is not the underpinning foundational building block. We're only at this primitive stage of thinking, oh, consciousness is under all of it, and then there's nothing outside of consciousness. Bullshit. Sorry, bullshit. But it's in a Stephen Wolinski video. He's touching it, saying that it's in the ancient scriptures. And it's like, yes! It's something is ready here for us to bring it out into the general public. It's on the internet, it's doing that mass spread. And whoever follows that path, well, that's just consciousness following the path anyway, of its own meltdown, its own breakdown. So not alone are we just kind of discovering what we are here as in our phenomenal world, in our noumenal, in our, intergalactic, like, that's just tiny. That's just what appears as consciousness, within consciousness. There is that which knows nothing about consciousness and isn't knowledge-based, isn't intelligent-based, has nothing to do with our value system at every level. Doesn't work in terms of 3D, 2D, none of it. This is just how consciousness rolls out. So it's kind of fantastic, huh? So is it the end? Of course it's not the end. Of course liberation isn't the end. Because it's the end for consciousness. Realizations continue to happen. And the infinity concept, we can apply that because that's the best that we've got, because we have to draw on language. So then we can say it's not the end. But when there's only the movement of pure consciousness, and the body-mind mechanism is in service to that only, if that's cleaned up, and I've still got some work to do on that. Every now and then it's like, oh my God, I was going to follow that concept. Oh wow. It's like a concept kind of bursts and but I usually don't get to follow it, It's like it's there. But as time goes by, there's less and less that get to that almost bursting forth into manifestation. It's like the concepts are not just coming up to the front. So I'm stuck for language because is it the end? It's not the end. It's not just. It's neither. Okay, can I just backtrack? It's neither the end nor the beginning. None of that is applicable. None of it. But there is a rest in liberation that is not there at all. It acts like a drug when you wake up in the non-dual, and it's stripped. That there's a raw exposure that's ever vulnerable, ever exposed, and totally aligned with being completely human. Completely human. Because that which is at the core of it is living the life. There's no overlayers anymore. So there's no games. And I suppose the experience is kind of, I don't know. The experience doesn't get my attention too much. Sorry, I'm trying to think on my feet here. It gets easier. There's more play. But it's not that there's investment in that. It's just, yeah, it kind of looks like that. But there's no sense of in any day that, oh, this is play, this is fun. That idea doesn't come unless it's an exchange with somebody. Say, hey, it's fun to do that. Okay, that's functioning mind, that's communication. But there's no actual, oh, I'm really enjoying that. And something like that never happens. It's like, where would you even find the wiring to kind of categorize an experience for yourself? It becomes, it's just still and quiet, and the personality does its thing, but your attention isn't in the personality. It's just recoiled back into where it came from. I don't know if it could go someplace else from there. I don't know. Something has settled and died off. Is it laid to rest or something? And what's prior to that does not have consciousness at all. Doesn't have consciousness at all. So the building blocks of consciousness itself is what breaks down after awakening, if you're not going to hang out in the non-dual state. And you've no choice anyway, You're either going to hang out in the non-dual state and help others to get to there, or your gig is to go all the way. You can't do anything about it anyway.